So I've been aiming to try and do this video for a little while now. Work and bits and pieces have got in the way. So this is probably my favourite rifle. It's the HW97 in 177. It shoots absolutely fantastic. Really accurate. The cock-in action isn't too heavy. It's got a nice underlever, easy enough to load the pellets. Everything about it is just nice. Which is a shame really, because I've managed to scratch the stock. But I'll try not to look at that every time I get it out. Anyway, what I need to do is try and get rid of some of the noise of it. So the only downside of this is it has got quite a thwack, bit of a buzz. And I do want to try and get rid of that, because if I get rid of that, I think this would be literally spot on. So I don't want to go into the route of dropping kits and different springs and bits and pieces, because it's easy enough to try and muck around with that. So I'll cut straight to the chase. And what I've done, so I bought the Vortek kit. So this is slightly different, so it actually comes as a whole unit. You'll see when I get it out in a minute. It is a drop-in kit, but it is actually designed as a one item kit rather than adjusting and adapting the top hat sliders. It's got a guide in there, it's got some grease for the springs. So what it should be is to take out the main spring, slide this in, and hopefully I'll see some differences. Power wise, I think the last time I put this over the chrono was about 10.5, 10.6, which for a Springer is pretty much where it needs to be. Any more powerful than that, it's a bonus, but that's pretty much where it needs to be. As I say, the cocking effort is really nice. I don't want to make it any harsher. I just want to reduce the noise, and I believe this kit is one of the best in doing that. So what we'll do, we'll have a quick look at the kit, get the rifle stripped down, and then go from there. Right, so the kit consists of some lubrication. Everything goes better with lube. The kit itself, so it's already got the like Del ring or the plastic spacer, spring guide, and it's actually got a piston sleeve at this end, the bottom end. The spring, which we need to lube, and the top hat. And I think what's nice about the top hat is it's actually made, the space is made to fit the spring as well. So everything is nice and snug, which means that nothing rattles, ergo, nothing vibrates. That's the theory anyway. So one of the things I need to be careful of is if this has got a piston liner inside the compression tube, I need to take it out because that might not fit over that. So we'll have a look at that. I've never taken this apart, I've never taken the light 7 apart. I've got some power washers just in case we need them, but we'll leave them off. And go from there. So what we do, we'll see about taking the stock off first, which is pretty much easy enough. It's just the spring, the screws, screw and screw, and it should just come off. And then we need to see about taking the action out. When I took the front guard screw off, didn't come out all the way, it's taken the bear trap. So I need to get some pliers on that, or some little spanner on that, take that off, obviously tighten it down. Yeah, because the bear trap's obviously also loose now. I don't need to take that off, so a bit of a pain in the bum, that one. Or do I? No. I need that screw out anyway. Right, so let's take the trigger out. Taking the record trigger out, oops, easy enough. There's two pins holding it in, one at the front, one at the back, and you literally just tap those through. But just be careful that when you take the trigger out, the safety catch is likely to pop out as well. It's got a little spring on it, so just need to be a little bit careful. But we should do that. Yeah, I would actually hazard a guess as to say that those pins have never been out. It was pretty tight, and they took a bit of a wallop to get them out with a punch. Longer one goes at the front, short one goes at the back. Generally speaking, it's easier to put them in one way than the other. Yeah, so this end is where they get driven in from. It's easy to drive them out from this end. There's the safety and the little spring, don't lose that. And the record trigger with I'm assuming that's an aftermarket trigger, or did it come from the factory like that? No idea. I've seen quite a few HW97s with a gold trigger. I don't know. Anyway, right, let's see about taking off the end cap. Wowzers. That end cap was on there pretty tight. Didn't think I was actually going to get that off in the end. All it needs is to be held securely and just literally cracked. Jesus Christ. Even using a bit of leverage, a clamp, pretty tight. So yeah, I don't think this rifle's been apart much, if any. Right, so what I need to do is gently wind this out. Hopefully there's not too much preload on there. If I find there's quite a lot of preload on the spring still, I'll put it in the spring clamp, or A-clamp, and take it off. So what I did, when I got it literally down to the last few threads, just put a screwdriver in there, just moved the spring. You can tell supposedly how tight it was, and there was a bit of movement. So all I did was the rifle on its end, carried on unturning it, and it just popped off. And as you can see, there's not actually a huge amount of spring sticking out. So what I now need to do is take out the old spring and put in the new one. Right, so the main spring's out, covered in grease. You've got the spring guide, your base plate. Got a weedy looking little thing actually. And then just for comparison, this is an HW35 spring. So it's obviously got the, this is 27mm diameter, this is 30. And yet this shoots that. Bizarre. I'm not sure if the top hat's still in there. I can't quite see. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that out. I don't really want to take the piston out, but I might have to. It's getting longer and longer, this job. So there's the side by side. So the spring is a little bit longer. Hopefully won't be too much of a problem getting it back in. But yeah. So this sits inside the piston. This goes up and down. Apparently by dampening the exposed spring, it causes less vibration, gets rid of the twangy noise, which is what I want. And it might add a little bit of power by the looks of it as well. Right, let me have a little clean up, little root around, see if there's a top hat still in there. Yeah, so it looks like top hat's in there. Is there? No idea. Let's have a little bit of a look. Right, so I was tapping. It looks like it's the inside of the piston now, the head of the piston. And a couple of the weights fell out. So yeah, there was no top hat. It was literally a couple of weights, which probably gives the spring a little bit more length than what to match it with the Vortek one. So yeah, so thankfully they popped out. So now I can give it a little bit of a clean, as much as I can do, and see about switching it over. Right, so it wasn't actually that dirty in there. So yeah, I don't think this has been mucked about with too much. So the original spring with the little weights at the end, you can tell the length compared to the Vortek spring. So the Vortek is actually a little bit longer, although it looks like the gaps in between the springs are a little bit more. But then again, once it's all compresses and gets sorted, it will shorten a little bit. I don't want to go add in my spring, my little extension things, my little weights there, because it could well be difficult to put back in the action and put it over as well. So I know that this was firing at about 10.6. So what I'll do, I'll put this in stock as it is, and obviously we need to run a good through number of pellets through it, chrono it, and if I need to revisit it, then obviously I have got some additional things to make it a little bit longer and increase the preload. But I'm not after about trying to make this any stronger. I just want to reduce the noise, which is what this system supposedly does. That's what I've got some grease, and I need to lube the exposed bits and pieces, the ends, and then literally pop it back in the action. Right, so lubed up with about a third of the red spring grease and whatever. So put it on both ends. I mean, this is going to be inside the compression tube, so it's not really going to go anywhere. And then this is there outside on the ends. So let's just see if we can slip it back in. Whoever misses. Yes, there's obviously a bit of a more sticking out than what there was before, so we'll see if we can get it on without the use of a clamp. I'm hoping that we will be able to, and then go from there. Wish me luck. So would you Adam and Eve it? Literally just managed to push it down on the table. Second time of asking, it screws in really easy. Phew, hopefully it's not going to come back and bite me in the arse. It's only going to put out about 4 foot-pounds of energy. Right, we'll get this screwed up. Hopefully it won't take too much to just lock it off. And we can start the reassembly. do need to give this a bit of a clean as well. I've got some gun oil I'll put on this as well, just to give it a bit of protection before it goes back in the stock. Right, it's actually quite tough to get back into place. What you need to do is make sure it's all lined up so the trigger can fit back in there. And an easy way of checking that is along the dovetail rails, make sure that they're continuous, because obviously they need to line up, which they are. Right, so next up is going to be fitting the trigger. Anyway, so before this goes in, it needs to be cocked. So the sears need to be engaged, because if you don't, when you put it all back together again and you try to cock the rifle, it won't do it. So let me just engage the sears. It's easy enough to do, just can't do it with one hand. So you've got it's quite nice because you can actually see the engagement between the sears. And obviously when the rifle is fired, it goes. So let me just quickly recock that. Right, I can't remember for exact, but in essence, that's your first stage stop. So you can actually adjust that, bend the tab, so you can reduce the first stage. This is your trigger pull weight. So it puts weight, pressure on the sear that runs along there, which is the bottom one. And there's a tiny little grub screw there that you can adjust, and you can actually move the sear along there. So you can actually change the amount of contact that you've got. Obviously the less contact means that you pull the trigger less before it goes off, which means you can actually potentially turn it into a bit of a hairline trigger. So it actually looks like it's got quite a lot there. Yeah, I'm not going to go mucking around because it's got a nice feel to it already. It's not got the lightest of pulls on it, but then again it's not designed as a bench rest or target shooting. It's a multi-purpose, blow the shit out of something per air rifle. So yeah, so let's see about getting this back in. Start rolling. Right, so this needs to go in cocked as it is. Fits in like that. Before it gets put in, I need to put the safety through, and then just line up the holes, and then just gently tap the large pin through the front and the smaller pin through the rear. Right, hopefully that's that. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain just trying to jiggle the safety into the correct position while lining the holes up. They're really not too bad. So just need to tap them through, and then what we'll do, if we pull the trigger, it should go. There you go. So I just need to tap them through fully, and then we can see about putting the bear trap back on and the screws. So far, apart from trying to get that damn thing off, it's been straightforward, so fingers crossed. I thought so. I thought the bear trap was secured on its own, and then obviously this becomes the front trigger guard bolt hole. So I've got some thread lock I'll put back on all these, because one thing with springs is they do tend to work themselves loose. Right, so let's secure the bear trap back down, and then we'll move on. It's just hopefully do that. Can't do it with one hand though, that's the problem. There you go. Move it into the position. Put a little bit of blue thread lock on that. Just need to screw that in and nip it up. There we go. All aligned. You're ready to go back in. So that's got thread lock on, nipped up. Just before I put the stock back in, I completely forgot to mention. Going to show focus. Come on, you can do it. There you go. There's a nut there. That obviously is for the rear trigger guard screw, and it does have a tendency to bugger off. So hopefully that's wedged in there quite tight. Because if not, it can be a right pain. It's £3 if you want to buy a spare one. Right, so let's get this stuck back on, and she's all done. Took a little bit of time to get the 4-end screws back in. Other than that, she's all buttoned up and thread locked. So let's see. Oops. If this Vortek internal kit has done anything to the noise. see if this works. Wow. I can already tell that sounds so much better. Safety. So I think the zeros changed a little bit. I'll put the scope back on. At least it's not going over next to the fence. Safety. Yes, that's aiming high, but then about 15 yards, I think this is zeroed. Shooting lovely. Yeah, one fly.